We're almost finished with our menu, but we have one little bit of housekeeping to do before we're totally done. You may have noticed that all of our links have a bottom border, including this last one. Since the border's function is to provide visual separation between the links, it really doesn't belong on this last menu item. Now, you're going to run into this problem over and over again when you're styling menus. Regardless of whether it's a horizontal or a vertical menu, you're bound to have some extra padding, margins, borders, or some other property on either the first or last menu item, sometimes both. In a lot of cases, that won't be that big of a deal, but for others, it really might be the difference between the menu actually fitting within the layout or it actually working or not. Let's see how we can clean that up. Now, before I jump into the code and start working with our file, I want to take you over to the W3C's Selectors Level 3 specification, and we're just focusing on one small section of it. And this is a little rundown of all of the different selectors. And I just want to point out a couple of these that can be extremely helpful when you're trying to target the first or last element within a structure. So we have the first child and last child selectors. We have first of type and last of type. We also have only and only of type, but they're not really that useful for us for menus. And then we have these nth selectors, which are a little bit more complex. But these guys right here, first child, first of type, and last of type, those can be extremely helpful when you're dealing with a menu and you need to select the first menu item or the last menu item and change the styling or restrict the styling in some way. Notice that those are pseudo-class selectors, exactly the same as hover and active and focus and those types of things. So very easy to use. We're familiar with using hover. And these selectors, the ones in particular that I'm talking about, actually enjoy pretty widespread support among browsers. So I'm going to go back into my code editor, and I'm just going to scroll down all the way to the bottom of our CSS. And I just need to create one more selector. So I'm going to go down and create a little empty space here. And I'm going to type in li : last child A. So think about what this is actually doing. Is it saying, hey, go into the page, find all of the list items. The list items that are the last child of their list, meaning the last one in the list, I want you to find and target the anchor or the link tags inside of that. So it's a very nice, easy way to do that without having to go down into your lists and apply classes to them, which is what we used to have to do before we had these selectors available to us. And all we have to do inside this selector, it's very easy. We just need to tell it for the border bottom that we want none. So I'm going to go ahead and save that, go back out to my browser, and just refresh the page. And sure enough, our last menu item no longer has that border. And that's it. Here is our finished vertical menu. It's a very simple menu, but the core techniques that you've learned here can be expanded to create more complex visual menus. Keep this last technique handy, as you're going to need to restrict styling in some way in almost every single menu you create. Feel free to experiment with this menu, modify the styling, and see what you can come up with. Once you're comfortable with the steps that I've outlined in this chapter, be sure to check out this chapter's lab and put your new skills to the test.